Here we talk about God-driven success, how God has designed you and He is willing to prosper you. His will is for you to do well in your field. And when you do well in your field, you will reflect Him and His greatness. This is why at the start of the earth, He told Adam and Eve, He said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, replenish it, dominate. That is just saying you have a kingdom, you have a space in which God expects you to dominate, to be king, to rule over. And ruling over whatever space God has allowed you is dominion. That is success. And so most of the times when you talk about success now, it's usually associated with most people who are not believers, people who are in the world or have tips on success, and they'll share so many things about success, and that had me curious to understand why Christians are not very successful. And I would be in church, I'd find that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of struggle. We're praying for jobs, we're praying and praising God for tiny amounts of money and everything. I'm not saying don't be grateful, but you could just see that people were suffering. And I was wondering, Lord, what is this? Why is it that your people tend to suffer? And God has directed me to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is just a step-by-step guide on how you can prosper and succeed in your life as a believer. The world has its own forms of success, and usually it leads to depression, it also leads to stress, it leads to so many sorrows, and as well as pleasure, of course. I'm not saying the world doesn't give pleasure, but it has a cost. But with God, the success He gives you has no sorrow. It's a beautiful success. But the only problem that we get is that if you want to succeed God's way, then you have to follow His protocol. You have to follow His systems. You have to follow His way. You can't sit at the devil's table and then hope God will crown you with glory. He won't do that. And so that is the challenge of us, being able to understand how God wants us to move, being able to pay attention to Him, being able to take Him seriously. And that happens when we spend time in His Word. And today we're in Proverbs 19. Proverbs 19 just talks about speed. Speed is celebrated in the world. Speed is what social media makes us want. You see a person just finished school, now they're already millionaires, they're doing well, they're prospering. It's just crazy. You're like, wow, that is successful. That is, we're always feeling like we're competing, and there's this desire for speed. I had that desire too. Probably still do. You still have to fight for patience to understand the process. But for me, how I learned about patience was when I started my farming business. I was driven, passionate, and determined to succeed. But with farming, no matter how driven, no matter how determined you are, you're going to have to wait for the crop that you have planted. That was really hard for me. So what I used to do was I would plant something, I'd start to wait, I'd get bored, I'd plant something else just to keep myself busy. How I ended up was I lost a lot of money because I had planted so many things I couldn't manage. Now everything at any different level of growth required certain levels of attention and expertise. And I didn't have that. And that was very hard for me to manage. I didn't have the capacity to deal with the growth that I had initiated. So I lost a lot. I lost a lot of my crop. And that was a very, very tough situation. And through that hard process of losing, after being determined and driven as an entrepreneur, I learned patience. I learned to understand that the successful farmers, the successful entrepreneurs would start one thing and they would see it through. They would develop a system before they expand to another thing. And developing a system means trial and error. Developing something that works, trying it out, seeing distribution routes, seeing people, your customers, understanding their needs and understanding how you get to them, understanding your product and reducing the cost of your product so that you can be profitable. All those things won't happen overnight. And so I was forced into a place of patience, into a place of understanding the process that God works in. And so right now, whatever you're desiring from God is going to require patience. It's going to put you in a process. And so Proverbs 19 verse 2 actually says that zeal without knowledge is not good. Zeal without knowledge, passion, right? Fire. You have a fire. You want to make things happen. You want to change things. But if you have no knowledge, that is not going to be good. That is not going to end well. So having passion is a good thing. But then the work of getting knowledge to back your passion up is now a work of diligence. That is usually not so exciting because that means you are like, I want to start a business. I want to build this company, or I want to change careers this way. Okay. But what does it require? What does it mean? What is the demand on you? That is the work of studying. That is the work of understanding. That is the work of seeking books, asking people, and people will tell you, what is your plan? I want to do this in 12 months. And people will tell you, you need 5 years, and you will hate it. You will not like that. And that becomes boring for most people. That becomes a burden for most people because we're thinking, 5 5 years what? I used to do that when I started my business. I was like, 5 years? I don't have 5 years. It is you who needed 5 years. I would not need 5 years. And that's how I lost a lot, So getting knowledge is essential to partner with your passion. If you're passionate in an area and you have the knowledge, you'll be unstoppable. You'll be able to understand, like, okay, what I have planted requires 6 years or 2 years or 2 months. Well, at this stage, let's stop doing this. Let's start doing that. That will prosper you much. So let's talk about the issues that come with having desire without knowledge. Because the Bible says desire without knowledge is not good. The issues that come is poor decision making, number one. If you have desire but no knowledge, that means you will just move anyhow, So, like, I'm giving you an example of me starting a business. I just started. I would grow this crop, that crop. I didn't understand that when the crops were moving from seedlings to maybe a bigger stage, they would need more care. They would need more spraying, more management. I didn't have the capacity for that. I didn't have the people to help me with that. And so as I planted, these plants looked small and they looked manageable. As they grew, they became complicated. And every plant had its own value chain. I needed to understand that value chain because I had no support. You see? So I had made a decision, but I did not have knowledge, and therefore I made a poor decision. So you make impulsive decisions if you have no knowledge. You make foolish decisions. And someone who has the knowledge will look at you and say, you're going to lose everything. And you might say, no, I won't lose everything. I'm doing what is right. That happens even in relationships. Someone who has been in relationships can look at you and say, the person you have chosen is going to be a burden to you for the rest of your life. And you might say, no, you don't understand the person, but they're looking at patterns and looking at trends. You can refuse, you can deny, but that's the truth. Someone can come into your career and say, the attitude you have, you will not be promoted, you will not go far. You might say, no, I know what I'm doing, I speak my mind, and they were right. So knowledge allows you to make good decisions. Knowledge also moves you away from unnecessary pain, unnecessary loss, and loss of effort, loss of resources, loss of confidence. A lot of losses come in when you just make a decision and then you're disappointed from it, right? So if you make a decision without knowledge and then you find that you have made so much loss in there'll be a lot of pain. You have to recover. I remember walking on my farm and crying in my heart. I wasn't crying. Gangsters don't cry. That's what I used to do. But I wouldn't cry really. But I was disappointed. I was broken. I would look at all my money. I was like, this is all my money. And I had done the math being an accountant. I had done my projections, my forecast, and I knew I had to triple my money. In 6 months, I was going to make it big, and everything had shattered. I would look there and sit and just say, oh Lord, loss. Why did I get the loss? Did I need to have the loss? No, I didn't have understanding. I had no patience, but I had a desire to prosper, a desire to make it big. And so desire without that knowledge led to losses. It led to heartbreak. And to recover from such kind of heartbreak, such kind of losses, takes a lot of healing, takes a lot. It's traumatizing. You deal with so much. Blame for yourself, what you put your family through. Now to just start again takes a lot. So when you act without knowledge, when you have a desire to act without knowledge, that's the loss you have to endure. Another thing is that you will damage your reputation. In some situations, you're in a company, you have made a decision without knowledge, you find that it can ruin your reputation. It can ruin your chances and your influence. People look at you and they wonder, how could you make that kind of decision? Or how could you stand that ground and then you've costed everyone their time and resources? You were wrong, right? So being able to know that I should take my time before deciding comes in handy. It helps you build credibility. It helps you think things through, and it helps you understand the impact of what you're doing and how it affects everyone else. But another thing that also making decisions without knowledge or having speed without knowledge does is that it leads you to missed growth opportunities. So every opportunity that comes to make a decision, to collaborate, for me, like in the business that I had, that is an opportunity for me to grow. You have to learn. So if I sit with you and you tell me, to advance in your career, you need 1, 2, 3, and I sit with you and I understand and I apply what you teach me, I ask another person and I have a wholesome picture of how I need to progress, that will help me move forward. That will be an opportunity for growth. But if I just say, you know what, I'll just take a chance, I'll just do whatever, I might lose that opportunity. Actually, I will lose that opportunity. Now the opportunity for growth becomes an opportunity for a lesson. And that lesson will be humbling. So it is like you're taking a step back till you learn that lesson and say, okay, I'm going to humble myself and learn the lessons. So zeal, passion is essential for you to be able to go on and be motivated and be inspired. To achieve anything great, you need the passion. But your passion needs to be paired up with knowledge. Without knowledge, your passion is going to be it's going to have dreadful results. It's going to harm. It's going to lead to loss. It's going to lead to unnecessary headache, pain, and that is avoidable if only you're willing to do the diligent work of doing the research. I would have people ask me about relocating, and they'll be like, "Oh, what relocate? I am all fired up to relocate and everything." And I'd say, "Okay, where are you relocating to? What's the role you're looking for?" They had no information, So you might be ambitious, you might have the zeal, you might have the passion and determination, but without knowledge, then what are you pointing at? You're just going to shoot like machine gun. You're shooting everywhere and hitting nothing, and that is just going to be exhausting. Before you know it, you give up on the dream and you just accept your situation. You settle for less than God has designed for you, right? So how can we make sure that as we're moving forward in our lives, we have the passion, we have the zeal, but we also get knowledge? Number one is seek understanding, seek knowledge, get wisdom. What does that mean? You study, you seek mentors, you learn, you quieten yourself down. That means you are listening to something that is beneficial. What have you been listening to? Get podcasts, read some books in your field, in an area that has a need. Sometimes I talk about reading and studying. People just think it's the Bible only. No, read the Bible. That should be your primary book, but read about the field you're interested in. Read about your area of interest. Read and understand, get knowledge. If you don't read, there are options with YouTube videos, there are courses, there are so many platforms where you can get understanding. We have no excuses. So if you want to start a business like I wanted to, the great thing to do is do research. Don't just start a business because there's a hype around it. So sit down, get understanding, understand, okay, if I go get these things from China, how am I taking them to the Amazon store so that they can distribute for me? Like, get understanding. What are the challenges? What are the costs? What are the issues? Don't just sit in the dream, excited about the fantasy of the dream and not getting knowledge, which will shake you up. So when you seek knowledge, it will change the game. In verse 8, Proverbs 19, it says that he who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will find good. You loving wisdom, you're taking care of it. That's the best way to do self-care, getting wisdom, because you make good decisions and you take care of yourself. You avoid unnecessary stress, unnecessary burdens when you have wisdom. So make sure you're seeking understanding, you're seeking wisdom. That will make you move with the zeal, but with knowledge as well, which will lead to you achieving great things in whatever goal that you have. Another thing you have to do is be patient. Patience is beautiful. Patience is faith, I say it's beautiful because it's trusting. You're trusting in God. You don't see it. You don't see God. You don't see what He's doing, but you can trust Him. So have patience. And when I say patience, I don't mean do nothing. So when you are being patient, it means instead of taking that main move, let's say you are just going to invest your money, or you're just going to quit your job, you're just going to relocate. Instead of just doing that big thing, you are waiting for things to settle down, so you to gather enough information. You're not forcing things. Another thing about patience is that it allows you to give time to situations, to give time to offers. And most offers that are deceptive will be exposed with time. Think of Adam and Eve. If Eve had said in the garden, "Oh, you want me to eat this fruit? Let me think about it." You think she would have eaten the fruit? No, she would have gone home, thought about it, sat with her husband, and they would have come back and said no. Imagine Esau. Esau in the Bible was really hungry. He needed to eat now. And so he sold his birthright to eat now. So he needed to make the decision immediately. There's something that happens when you make decisions immediately without thinking through. It might be exciting. It might be like exhilarating, but ultimately you look back and say, what did I do? Most of the times when you're excited, when you're moving fast, you can be deceived. And this is why even scammers, when they're trying to get something from you, they'll try to make you move fast. Yeah, so I got a call one time from a scammer who was trying to offer me a job, and they're like, "Oh, this is the job, that is it." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Email me." They're like, "Oh no, but you need to act now." I'm like, "No, I don't need to act now. I want to see everything." "But no, this job is, if you don't see anything, if you don't respond now, that's it." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." That is a scammer has lost. If you are cool, if you are calm. But if I come to you and say, you can multiply your money if you put it in this, I need you to act now, or otherwise I'm going to move on to somebody else, and you move, you have allowed deception to creep in. So patience, giving things time, allows you to expose deception, allows you to assess. The deception won't hold for long. Yeah, because it's like somebody's faking, they're holding on tight. It has to burst through. Right? So before you make any decision big, any decision that involves you, your heart, things that you care about, give it time, sleep on it. Don't allow yourself to feel rushed. Take your time and you'll be surprised what will be exposed. Right? So That's what patience does. There was a verse that I like that had patience. It says, the discretion of a man makes him slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. In this verse, they say the discretion of a man makes him slow to anger. But in other versions, it says the discretion of a man, or the man's wisdom, makes him patient. So being able to slowly react, where you could have reacted quickly, you're reacting slowly. Why? Because you have discretion. Discretion comes from knowledge as well. It comes from wisdom. So we're tapping into the same well, and it will change so many things in your life. If you're tapping into this knowledge, it will bring wisdom, discretion, understanding, and that is just a game changer. Yeah. Another thing is you have to ask questions. Don't just make a move, right? Ask questions. Why am I doing this? And ask people, what is this about? Ask other people, right? Whatever idea you have, ask other people. I'm thinking of changing jobs. I'm thinking of relocating. What do you think? Ask and hear the lessons. When people are saying things that you don't agree with, don't argue. Just take that and say, okay, thank you for your opinions. But also allow people to question your stuff. If you have an idea, if you have something that you think is exciting, you want to work on, you want to make a move on, don't just rush within it yourself, Get other people to question you. Like, can you hear my idea? People you trust, of course. People who have a good record of being honest, a good record of integrity. You sit with them and they say, this is my idea. I'm hoping to start this business. I'm hoping to start working this way in my career. What do you think? Get their feedback. That allows you to get wisdom. Yeah? That allows you to get insight, to be corrected. And that brings success in whatever you want to do. Yeah? So, verse 25 actually says, of Proverbs 19 says, if you strike a scoffer, they'll become weary. The simple will become weary. If you rebuke someone with understanding, they will discern knowledge. So if you are a person with understanding and you're inviting people to come and criticize and point out issues in what you think is a great idea, and you're a person who is willing to listen, you will get understanding from there. You actually have your idea elevated and perfected. But if you're a person who's defensive, you just be there and you'll be bored and you'll be angry, you'll be defensive and you'll miss out, right? So that is about you making decisions with speed. I love speed. Everybody loves speed. Speed allows you to get to a place quickly. But imagine going really fast in the wrong direction. You arrive where? Nowhere. Imagine going up a ladder really quickly and you're going there and your legs are hurting, your quads are on fire. You are there going up, using all your effort, and you get to the top and you realize you're leaning against the wrong wall. That is what happens when you have zeal without knowledge, when you have speed without direction, when you have speed without understanding. So there's nothing good that will happen. What will happen is that you will make many, many, many mistakes, which you have to fix. People will say, oh, I have already gone this far. I've invested 12 years in this thing. I don't want to just leave and make a change. What would you rather do? Invest 12 years and then extra years in a wrong thing that you actually know is wrong, or you'd rather make a change and now start making progress towards the right direction? You'd rather get up, and then realize this is the wrong wall, get down that wall. Move your ladder to the right wall and climb that wall. Make progress in the things that are important to you. So always seek knowledge. For all the goals and dreams that you have, always seek knowledge, because knowledge will validate or even cancel out whatever you are being excited about. Sometimes you are excited about a dream and you talk to somebody and they're telling you, I tried that, this is what happened with it. And you can say, oh, I need to either shift it or this was just a fantasy. Let me move on. It will save you time. It will save you heartache. It will save you losses. And it will allow you to have opportunities for growth. Right? So another verse that sticks out here is, if you choose not to listen to God as he gives us all these warnings, if you choose to just go around your way, God is saying that is your own stupidity. You have chosen your own thing. And the verse here says it beautifully. It says, the foolishness of a man leads him astray, and then he is angry at God. Yeah, so it is our own foolishness. God is giving us clear instructions. Don't act before thinking. When you're about to do something big, consult other people and you choose, no, I don't want to listen to that. Or I don't have time. Oh, I'll read the Bible later. So you don't even know the mind of God in the situations you're in. God says you will make mistakes in your own foolishness, and then you'll be mad at God. You come back to, hey, God did this. Why aren't you helping me? And God is like, no, it's you. You're reaping the fruit of your foolishness. So let's avoid consequences and then blaming God later, because God is ordering our steps and guiding us. Another tip that I loved from Proverbs 19 is that you have to seek the king's favor. It explains in verse 15, I think. Is it 15? It's not 15. It's 12. It just says the king's favor is like, his roar is like a lion and his favor is like dew. Yeah, in all you're doing, I think you have to understand that there are protocols, right, to success in any place that you're operating. There are protocols to be observed. So who is the king sitting in that area? How can you win their favor? I'm not saying you play politics that now you try to compromise your integrity. No, but I'm saying observe the protocol in the area you're operating in. I'm saying align yourself to power. Don't be a rebellious soul. Align yourself to power. Serve the king. Think, how can I be of service to my manager? How can I be of service to this field? How can I make friends with power? Yeah, it only serves you. It allows you to make progress faster. Even if that power is not on the same level of faith with you, or they're not even favorably disposed to you, you just decide to be in the good terms with them. You just decide to be in good terms with them. They have the power to promote quickly and to block hard. And God says in his wisdom, choose to have favor with the king. All right. Another thing is that, I liked this. Wealth. A good wife comes from the Lord, but riches and wealth comes from parents. And for me, I was like, okay, this is an area I need to get understanding in. I'm very fired up about leaving a legacy of wealth for my children, but how? So don't just do things like even investments and plans. Don't just do them as I'll just do however I want. Or I just think houses. Where I'm from, investments, we just think houses, real estate. But I had been learning about real estate and I was like, wait, when you get more understanding in real estate, you realize that that's not how to increase your money. When you have lots of money, then you put in real estate to keep your money or to slowly, right? You don't multiply your money through real estate. At least not the regular way that we talk about, you see? So understanding allows you to do stuff like that. So I know that I have a duty as a parent to leave wealth for my children because God says wealth and houses come from parents, but a good wife, a good partner comes from the Lord. So for me, it's my job to get understanding so that I give my children wealth and houses. That's just interesting how practical God is and the responsibility he puts on us. And it is our job to just get understanding. Most of the things that seem hard, impossible, most of the things that seem like we don't have control over, we don't know what to do, those things are usually sorted when you get understanding, when you sit down, get knowledge. Like I keep saying, online, offline, there's so many resources available. What book are you reading right now? What podcast are you listening to right now? What YouTube video are you watching right now? Just be intentional. You'll be surprised the changes, the idea that will come to you when you start to feed your mind right. Ultimately, the verse that I'm going to leave you with is verse 21. Proverbs 19, verse 21. It says, there are many plans in a man's heart, but the Lord's counsel will stand. Ultimately, God's way, God's will be done. Your job is to do your part alone. Don't carry tomorrow's burdens. Don't carry next week's burdens. You have no capacity for that. That will cause anxiety and stress. What you can do, however, is to manage what God has given you, which is today. The resources God has given you, the friendships God has given you, the money, the talents, everything God has given you. Manage that well. That is your job. And then leave everything to God. Ultimately, his will be done. When you do your best, because sometimes you're just doing your own things, and then that takes us to the verse which says that your foolishness will bring you consequences, and then don't blame God. That's a different story. But if you do your best with what you've been given, and you don't know what to do, you seek God, you pray, and you seek knowledge, then leave everything to God. Trust that God is faithful, he is good, he's on your side, and he will prosper you, and his name will be glorified. That way you will not be stressed, that way you will not be bothered, even as other people succeed, because social media will make you do that. You see other people succeed and you get envious. You're inviting blockages to your own success, because envy is a spirit that comes in and blocks. You don't want that. It blocks your ability to hear, your ability to be creative. You don't want that. So when you understand that God is on your side and there's favor for you, then you can chill, you can relax, you can do your best, and you can wish people well, and you can focus on your lane, right? All right, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful. Read Proverbs 19. It is amazing. It is really amazing. I was like trying to think which verses should I share, and I just love verse 2, verse 3. Those are powerful verses, but you can love more. Spend time in it. You'll see God speaking to you specifically for your issue. Right? For me, this spoke personally because I have been going through it, where God is like, you're a passionate girl, but get knowledge. You're a passionate girl, but sit down, calm down and read, So you can be excited and say, we're going to win. Yeah. But when God tells you sit down and read, that means your tone changes immediately. Because when you start reading, everything comes down. Now there's no excitement. Now you can see things clearly. That's how God wants us to be. Effective children of God, who are not just fired up and praying and crying, worshiping him. No, after we do that, we become effective. We speak wisdom. We have solutions. We have answers. We enter spaces and we can command influence for his glory. Yeah, we're not just empty. We are people who are being filled by the Spirit of God for his work. in our different fields, right? I wish you great success. The Lord is with you. He's with us. He'll prosper us and his name will be glorified. I'll talk to you soon. Tomorrow, Proverbs 20. Yeah.